Are you sick and tired of dealing with rust every year and it coming back and having to recoat and chip and having your stuff look terrible? Well, so am I. Today I'm going to show you a product that I've been using for several years that's going to eliminate it and stop rust in its tracks. Welcome back to episode 12 of the $750 Marketplace Tandem Axle Trailer Rebuild Project. This is our trailer that we picked up off Marketplace for $750. We've gone through it, done a bunch of work. We've had to repair the hitch that was on the front. The tongue was all kind of messed up, so we had to replace that. Built a spare tire carrier, straightened out fenders that were extremely bent, and those came out really nice. Built a tailgate, installed electric brakes on both axles, and installed bulletproof wiring so that it's a one and done thing. We don't have to worry about it again. If you're curious about any of those and more, be sure to check out the playlist. But today, we're going to be focusing on getting this frame cleaned up so that we can get it coated. Then we can install all of these decking boards. Today's goal is to get everything that would be difficult to get if the decking boards were on the trailer. So we're not going to do the tops of the fenders, the rails, anything that we could easily get to. So I'm going to do all these top surfaces that you see where the deck boards would be, all the cross members, the axles underneath, and the inside of the rail all the way around as it goes. So that way we can put down all our decking, fasten it to the trailer, and then once all the decking's on, then we can do all the parts that you actually see on the outside and do a really good job on that as well. But for right now, we're really focusing on getting this all wire brushed down and then putting on a really strong, durable epoxy coating that is going to prevent rust from ever coming back again. This is what I'm going to be using to get everything down to in a surface that'll accept paint. The great thing about this application of paint that I'm going to be putting on is you can spray it or use it with a brush, but you don't have to get it down to bright shiny metal. You can actually paint over the rust itself, and it bonds and adheres to the rust. And this is the coating that we're going to be put on it. It's made by a company called Magnet Paints, and it's called Chassis Saver. And I'm not sponsored. I bought this with my own money. I'm just telling you that I've used it multiple times over the years. They use this stuff in the backs of like sanding trucks, you know, commercial sanding trucks that spread salt and stuff in the winter, because this resists salt and chemicals, gas, rust, you know, oil. You could paint over rust, gasoline. The one thing that it is though, it's not UV stable, so if it's something that's going to be in direct sunlight, it'll lose its gloss over time, so you'd have to top coat it. But I'm not even worried about that a little bit. This is the stuff I really care about getting on all the cross members, because this leaves almost like a hard, almost like a porcelain type finish. It is super hard. You can just feel it when you touch it, how durable it is. Alright, let's get to wire brushing. I got to get on my PPE gear because I'm not into breathing a bunch of rust and dust and all that stuff. Anytime I'm grinding, I'm wearing this Papper hood. It keeps the dust and the metal out of my lungs, and honestly, the constant airflow keeps me way cooler too. I used to come away from jobs covered in grit, coughing half the day, but not anymore. It's comfortable, easy to see through, and I don't finish the day feeling like I've been breathing in a scrapyard. If you're doing a lot of grinding, it's definitely worth it. In doing this work, when all the decking off it, is really the way to do it. It is just so much easier because you can crawl in and you're not working on your back the whole time. You can, you know, when you start getting tired, you can sit on some of the cross members and grind a little bit and just kind of reposition yourself. It's definitely the way to do it. If you have the luxury of not having the decking on it, is to do this grinding work and painting well before you put the decking on. This is coming out really good. I'm real happy with the progress that I'm making with it, just going over everything with a wire brush. The best way to do it is actually per the container. It says if you can sandblast it, to go ahead and sandblast it, but I'm not going to get into that extent of it. We'll put this coating on it, and then I'll just put some undercoating on it, some fluid film, and this thing will look just like a brand new trailer. Now to get into these real small cramped areas, like under there where two joints meet together where it's real hard to get to, I'm just using a needle scaler. And that's this tool right here. Just has little, basically like pins on the end of it that just kind of vibrate around, and they chip away all that heavy rust and scale. So after I do a little bit in through there, a little bit under here where it's hard to get to. Then we'll wipe everything down that we've sanded with acetone, and then we can start applying this coating.
And not only does a needle scaler work really good to clean up rust in hard to get places, but it also works great to clean up spatter when you're MIG welding or slag from when you're stick welding.
I've got everything all needle scaled now and all clean. Now we just got to get all this rust and dust and dirt off it. So we're just going to go down through, blow everything off with a blowgun, then we'll wipe it all down with some acetone. Anybody got a lighter I could borrow? Stuff dries so fast. It says don't use lacquer thinner though on the manual or on the label, or I would probably do that. And I have on 2 pairs of gloves too, guys. So these are a rubber glove, but I'm also wearing a rubber glove underneath because you don't want to be having your body or your skin absorb acetone. That's definitely not good for your health. I know a guy years ago that we were working at a treatment plant, and he was one of the painters, and he was handling a product called MEK, and it's like basically like a reducer or a thinner, and he ended up getting super sick. He was touching it with his bare hands. It absorbed in his skin, and he'd been doing it for a while, and I guess just about killed the guy from what I understand. So be real careful touching chemicals. Just make sure you're safe. Now the fun part, all our hard work, we get to appreciate it because we can put a coating on it now. This stuff is brutal. If you get it on your skin, it's not coming off. You're gonna have to basically grind it off. Like I say, this stuff works really good. It's just, it's brutal. If you leave a little bit of paint around this rim and you let it dry, it'll weld the cover right to the paint can. It even says it on it. So you got to put like saran wrap or something in between it so it doesn't bond 2 pieces of metal together. And they don't really want you shaking it. And if you do shake it, you got to let it sit overnight. I guess it can get air bubbles in it when it dries. And you're not supposed to work out of the container either. So we're going to just put it in this little bowl and kind of go around and apply it. But by doing it this way and manually putting on with a brush, I know that I'm really like packing it in and it's going to get good coverage. I'm going to kind of start at the front and work my way to the back. This is going to take a while. But anything worthwhile doing is worth taking your time to do it right. Oh yeah, this stuff looks good. It's going to work so nice. This cures with moisture too. So if you have a lot of humidity while you're doing this, it's going to cure a lot faster. And here it is, and I am really happy how this came out. I'll have to read what the dry time is, but it came out really good. See, the finish looks nice and durable. Got a little reflection there. A little few things from the trees and stuff blowing into it, but I'm not concerned. Yeah, I got the suspension, got the axles, coated the springs. And this is how much I've used right here. Just a little bit over half doing all of that. Now would be a good time to cut all this lumber to length because 12-foot lumber isn't 12 feet. Just like a 2x4 isn't 2 inches by 4 inches. It's just all these wonky measurements and it's always a little different. We got to cut off this much off of these boards to make them exactly 12 feet long to fit on the trailer. So while that paint is drying, this would be a perfect time to do that. Sorry about all the wind, guys. It's pretty windy out right now, but I'm glad it is windy because it's about 80 degrees. I think what I'll do is I'll cut all of these to length and then get them all nice and neat and organized, put the other 4 on, then we'll cut those, and then we'll let these sit overnight. We'll come back at it tomorrow when all of that stuff on the trailer is dry, and then we'll start from scratch. We have a little bit of forgiveness too on these. The trailer actually measures 12 foot ½ inch, so I want to leave a little bit of gap on the front and on the back so that the end grain isn't like sitting right against the metal. It'll leave a little air gap and allow it to dry out when it gets wet.
It's hard to find good wood these days. I picked through the pile quite extensively and it's still pretty rough. There's lots of knots in it and it's just kind of garbage. Wood has just gone downhill so much over the years, and they still charge a whole lot of money for it.
Now we just got to let the trailer dry and we can put all these on in the morning. We're back. It's the next day. I've got all my stuff laid out and I'm ready to do this. I'm going to have a cordless drill. I'm going to be using a router with a bit that looks like this, and I'll show you what we're going to be using that for. The screws that I bought are going to require a T30 bit, and it also says it takes a 7/32 pilot hole for the screws. And these are the screws that I got for it. These are special. These are made for today's pressure treated lumber. These should work really well. Apparently there's different types of pressure treated lumber. The old style, I guess, and then this newer stuff is much more corrosive to fasteners, so I didn't want to have any problems with the screws rotting out, and apparently that new treatment process will rot out screws. So these are designed to be used with the newer pressure treated chemicals that they use. The reason for that router bit is I've got clearance lights, little LEDs that are mounted around the trailer, and as they go across this, I don't think the board would ever squish down enough in this area because the top of the wire isn't above this flange where it's going to sit. I don't think it would ever squish down enough to damage the wire, but I'm going to put a little trough right across where this wire goes, so it'll make like a little, almost like a little raceway for this wire to fit into so it can't crush it. And one other thing that I noticed is that when the factory welded this hitch piece onto this, it would have been nice if they kept it flush to the top, but they didn't. They overlapped it. So for that reason, because I want the board to sit pretty much on top of this, I'm going to use the router and route this out a little bit in this area here so it makes a little transition. So the board's just not sitting just on this and then just on this little side rail. So now you can see it's got a little bit of a gap here, which is good, so that way it doesn't have moisture collecting on the end grain. So what I'll end up having to do is pick it up on the back end, slide the front end, and then let it drop down. And yes, I know people are saying, well, I probably should seal the end grain lumber. I'm not going to. This trailer is going to outlast me, and this is all going to have some sort of undercoating or treatment on it anyways. It's all going to get absorbed in. I'm not worried about it. There we are. There's board number one. Boy, it's hard to find good lumber these days, guys. Look at this stuff. It's all got knots all through it, and I picked through the pile best I could, but just lumber these days is just garbage, seems like. Hard to find good stuff. So this next board will go in, and then I'll lay it down, and then I'll trace this little angle from the underside, pull it back up, spin it around, and then route that bottom section out.
This is always the fun part, when you're starting to put things back together and you can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm pretty excited here. I'm really liking this project.
Now you can see this a little bit better. You see how this right here is holding that up by that much? So what I'll do is I'll trace underneath there and remove that with the router. And now you can see that line that we got to remove back to there, back to there. So we're going to take out about 1/4 inch in thickness all across that.
I'm actually surprised that they built the hitch of the trailer this way, having that front, A-frame come into the top of the crossmember. It just doesn't seem like it's supposed to be that way. But obviously, this is a factory-built trailer. That's how they designed it. Personally, I think it's a poor design. It should have been lined up flush to the top of the crossmember, but we're correcting it right now.
There we go. Check that out. Now that can push all the way down. Put a screw right in there. That'll suck all the way down nice. See that? But because this is under this, we don't have to do it for the next one. All I got to do is just do a trough across here for this wire. So we'll just measure back like a couple inches and put a trough across it, and that'll give that wire a place to live. See that? See how it's got that nice little channel up under there now? That wire can slide all around easily.
This rebuild series is getting actually rather long. I was kind of hoping that I could have the whole trailer done for this episode, but we're not going to get to it. I still am going to have a few little details. The tailgate we're going to have to paint, and the sides and all the other stuff. So I'll probably come back at it in a couple more weeks, and I'll show you everything, all the fine details. We'll put the stickers on it. It'll look like a brand new trailer when we're done.
Gonna do the same thing for the wire on this one.
And when we come back for that next episode, I'll give a detailed breakdown of all the materials that I used for this project, and I'll also give you a very detailed breakdown of what everything cost, because I'm sure that's exactly what you guys are wondering. How much do I have in this right now?
I had to do one off camera just to make sure that my method that I was going to do was going to work. So I've gone through, marked everything out, marked all the center of the cross members, put a little mark on it. I'm just going to have to carry it all the way across. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling this way, these boards this way with a clamp, then I'm going to pull those ones that way. So what I did was, for this one, I just put the clamp on it, pulled everything I could, get it as tight as I could, pulled this way, and put one screw right here, just to hold these boards tight. Now I'm going to do the same thing down here. You can see how it's got big gaps. I've already made sure, you know, back to front that there's a gap on all of these from front to back, so we're good there. So now I just got to squeeze that this way, then I'm going to get another screw right in here to hold this side. And every board is getting 2 screws at every cross member, so that's going to be about 80 screws that we got to put in this.
And I ended up figuring this pretty close. I was really concerned if I was going to have enough screws, and when we were all said and done getting all the screws in, I actually had 2 left over. So that was a nice feeling.
I don't know if I explained it beforehand, but these screws actually cut their own threads in the metal, so you don't have to put nuts on the bottom side or anything. So that's like 4 1/4. 4 3/8. I think what I want to do now is rip that board, 2 4 1/4, and then pull them tight. It wants to go, it's so close. That fits in there nice. That's that one right there that we just beat into place. And another thing too, guys, I haven't taken this out of level this way, so I know that the trailer's not racked, so when I screw these boards down, if the trailer was like racked or bent or on uneven ground, it could like force the trailer in that position. So by me keeping this trailer all, you know, plumb level and square, it's going to make these deck boards go on nice and straight, and the trailer won't be all racked.
It's probably been about 15 years since I decked the trailer. I used to do a ton of these back in the day when I was younger. It's not hard work, it's just kind of uncomfortable, and I'd forgotten how uncomfortable it is. Back in my younger years, I used to kind of like be down on my knees and doing it, but with my knees being all blown out now, it just makes it a lot more difficult. It wasn't too difficult, it's just kind of time consuming, kind of monotonous, but it wasn't too bad.
And just like that, it is done. This didn't take too long, probably maybe a couple hours to drill all these. There's 80 holes that I had to drill and put those screws in. But all in all, it went in pretty good. Got a couple little small details that I gotta finish up, but we can get all of those in the last episode where everything will be painted. But I'm going to take a piece of angle iron, 1.5 inch angle, and lay it down in this gap, and this end will go over here. Then I'll put like 4 bolts, carriage bolts, along that edge to hold that down. So same idea as if I put a flat plate across that, but it's just going to make it a lot more rigid and a lot more sturdy. I'm thinking we should take it out for a spin, make sure the brakes work, and test it out. Still got to do some cable management up underneath and stuff, holding things up underneath, but aside from that, I think it's probably time we give it a try. So this is the jack that was completely ripped off the tongue, and we welded it all back together and fixed it. This is a different jack, but the tongue has been all rebuilt. And then we welded these, used to be U-bolts from the suspension, onto the trailer to give a nice place to hang our tow hooks.
For those of you that are new here, this trailer was pretty rough. It had been pretty beat up. It came from down south. I've had it for probably 6 months. It didn't have electric brakes on it, so we went around and installed electric brakes on all the wheels. The suspension was shot, so we ended up putting all new suspension on it, and this is my first opportunity of actually having the trailer on the ground so I can actually torque the wheels. I want to make sure that everything's tight and that we don't have any problems for our first maiden voyage.
Let's try the brakes, see if they work.
When I got in the truck and I checked the brake gain and increased the brake gain, the right side tires were locking up and the left side tires weren't quite locking up. So I think maybe I've got to adjust the brakes a little bit, but they're definitely all working, and you can actually hear the magnets engaging from back here.
The other side was locked up. I don't know if this side did, but the other side did for sure. This is like nose down, so I've got too much of a drop on this for this trailer. So I think this is a 8-inch drop. I think I gotta do a 5-inch. I checked all my lights, everything works. They look wicked good. And I put my license plate on it. I've had it since November. So yeah, everything looks really good. And I tied those wires up underneath on the front. See what I did there? Put some little plastic clips, and those are stainless steel 1-inch long screws, so those will never go bad. And then I put a little clip right through that little trough right there. You guys had mentioned when I built this gate that it was probably going to be noisy, and it probably will be, but that's curable enough by, if it was bothersome, you could just run a strap from here down to, you know, here or something to put some tension on it. But you guys had also asked, why did you go so big with that hole in there? Well, that's if the trailer's racked. You know, if the trailer's racked at an angle and, you know, one side's up on a hump and one side's down in a dip, that the tailgate can still latch easily without having to like force it around. I learned that from experience. I built one trailer where the holes were pretty tight compared to the pin, and you're always having to like fight with it a little bit. Unless you're on perfectly level ground, the pins, you know, don't retract and just drop in. Like for here, they just drop in no matter where you are. So. And for those of you that are new here, I made this tailgate so that it can actually fold down inside on itself. So this tailgate can fold right flat inside the trailer. So if you wanted to load something, you know, with a forklift, a pallet of something, you know, pallet of block or wood or whatever you're trying to haul, you could load something with a forklift.
Going down the interstate, all in the trailer.
Going down the highway, wicked nice.
Yep, fender proofs too.
Oh, super. I'd say we passed the test.
Yep.
And that's all there is to it. I'm really happy how this maiden voyage turned out. Probably drove it maybe 60 miles today, had no problems whatsoever. Picked up a 5-inch receiver drop hitch, so we should be all set there now. There's new videos every Friday, and if you want to know about all the things that we did in this playlist, go check it out. We have a ton of knowledge in there for anyone looking to rebuild a trailer or fix it up or do whatever you want or even build one. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. New videos every Friday, so until next week, I will see you then. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.